Every single year we get a new Pokemon game, and with that, new Pokemon designs. Pokemon Black and White released over a decade ago, and at this point, it's only a matter of time before we return to the Unova region. Hey everyone, it's Dusty Go-Go. Welcome back to my headcanon. The Gen 5 region features a vast array of habitats, and to me, that means new Pokemon evolutions, regional forms, lookalikes, and paradox Pokemon. Right now, Gen 5 feels more relevant than ever, so today, let's take a look at how new Pokemon would change and adapt within the Unova region. Let's start things off with the obligatory Coffee Pokemon. This is a regional form for Sinistea, its Ghost and Fire type. This design is by Katia Dex, but in a post-Scarlet and Violet world, I could see this Pokemon being a lookalike. The abundance of coffee cups found in this region caused this Pokemon to take a different form. The hotter the liquid inside its cup, the stronger it is. This Pokemon would have Flame Body and would evolve into a new evolution, Spiricino. If you don't know, the Unova region is based on New York City, home to many daily coffee drinkers. I'm actually shocked we don't already have a Pokemon like this. The artist gave this Pokemon Fire type because of how hot it is. I think Ghost Fire is also a really cool type, but I could alternatively see this Pokemon being the electric type to represent the caffeine inside of a cup of coffee. It is said if one drinks from Spiricino, the person will become dizzy and warm on the inside. This is a beautiful design. A fan favorite concept is a legend style Unova game. I think that type of game could either take place in Unova 200 years prior or in the future, and trainers of this region will be able to choose one of 3 existing starters for this new adventure. Tricos and Grovyle found in Unova. I would imagine if they were exposed to the wilds of the nature preserve or the White Forest, these Pokemon would evolve into this new grass and flying type Sceptile. I love the sleek design of this Pokemon. I always thought Grovyle could have had a flying type to begin with. It has these like leaf wings sticking off of it, and that design element really never followed through to Sceptile, so I love this version of the Pokemon. Despite having 2 large wings on its forearms, this Sceptile cannot actually fly. Rather, they use their wings to glide from tall trees, which they can easily climb, to ambush their prey, landing atop of them and quickly overpowering them. And if you chose Trico, your rival is likely to choose Scorbunny and evolve it into this Unovan Cinderace. Scorbunny is based on a European footballer. I love the idea of this Pokemon being introduced to an America-inspired region like Unova and actually getting a regional form that reflects American football. I think that's so perfect. I don't watch the sport, but I can appreciate this design so much. And I think the artist SB Fakemon has also done an excellent job tweaking the aspects of the original Cinderace design that I really don't like, which is that it looks like it's wearing clothing. This Cinderace actually looks like a fluffy bunny. I can appreciate this a lot. I think the black and red is also great. Finally, trainers of a Legends Unova game could choose Piplup for this adventure, and because of the harsh winters of Unova, possibly being influenced by the harsh cold caused by the legendary Kyurem, Piplup and Unova will evolve into this water and ice type Empoleon. It could have a hidden ability of Snow Warning, and the artist based it on an icebreaker. Can't you totally see this thing just swimming throughout the frozen oceans? I love this so much. In the wintertime especially, right? Unova is the only game that features seasons, specifically the winter season. I think this would be a perfect fit for a Unova game. Let's head on over now to Lentimus Town and Reversal Mountain. This is Duralava, the fire and ground type evolution for Charcadet. Another beautiful design by the Ondu region. If you carry 10 Golett fragments, you can exchange them for a Golem armor, which would allow Charcadet to evolve into Duralava. You can see the patterns of the Golett. That's something that's really cool about any sort of armor evolution, right? You can see the held item attached to the new evolution's body. You can see actually elements of Golett in the Pokemon. Its body is made of rock and magma, and it's got this drill arm for boring through Reversal Mountain. These Pokemon are very obedient, and I can see them being used to dig deeper and deeper to fulfill the greed of the humans in their area. It would be wise not to dig too deep because Heatran slumbers in Reversal Mountain. Okay, I'm going to indulge just one more time with a Charcadet evolution. This is Hydralgon, a fire and dragon type. Charcadet will evolve when it's exposed to the scale armor. I imagine the scale armor is comprised of Druddigon scales. I could see this Pokemon wandering around Dragon Spiral Tower. There's a lot of high-level Pokemon there, and of course, wild Druddigon. Hydralgon is a symbol of royalty. He was the companion of kings, nobles, and renowned generals in medieval times. Just like Armarouge, I could see this Pokemon firing dragon beams from its arm cannons. The next Pokemon is Bellity. It's a psychic and steel type evolution for Chimecho. I think Chimecho has been in need of an evolution for a very long time. It got a pre-evolution, but I don't really think the base Pokemon Chimecho ever really warranted a pre-evolution. I think it needed to go in the opposite direction with an evolution like this Bellity. I imagine Chimecho's being exposed to the aura around Celestial Tower, undergoing evolution. In Japanese, Celestial Tower translates to Tower of Heaven. The Celestial Tower is a tall tower with a large bell whose tones are said to purify the spirit. I think the Steel type would do wonders for Chimecho, increasing its defense, and also giving it a wide variety of stab moves. I think the design is very interesting and unique. Bellity is considered a celestial Pokemon, being respected for its ability to connect the earthly and spiritual world with each chime it strikes. Due to its status as divinity, it is located in the great cathedrals, schools, and universities. This would also honestly be a great type. And if we ever get the sound type, like, I mean, it's got to be sound and Steel type, right? That's what it has to be. Another really cool location in Unova is the desert resort in the surrounding area of Relic Castle. This is a ground and dragon type Onix and its evolution Dunix. Maybe I'm just on a high after watching the new Dune movie, but I feel like this is a perfect interpretation of what the original intent of Onix was supposed to be. Onix really didn't age well, I don't think, over the last 30 years of the Pokemon franchise, but this Pokemon's glimmering geode body gives it so much unique personality and is also a bit of a callback to Mega Steelix's appearance as well as the Crystal Onix. I love how this Pokemon is going in and out of the surface of the sand just like a sea serpent. This Pokemon is absolutely chef's kiss. I want to see a Pokemon like this so bad. I would love to see a regional Onix line. And Onix has always had access to certain dragon type moves, and it's a giant sea serpent. Like, I mean, this makes a lot of sense. Now we've got an evolution for Sharpedo by Ondu region. I think this is called Tuburuan, but I imagine if a Sharpedo was exposed to the lovely beaches of the Unova region, places like Humalau City, Undella Town. These are tourist locations with very peaceful Pokemon. I think if a Sharpedo or Carvana species was introduced invasively to these habitats, they would have no natural predators and be able to evolve even further, ironically making them even more destructive. This design is a beautiful callback to the lost beta design Shark Pokemon. That Pokemon had an anchor for a tail, and the artist here perfectly incorporates that into Sharpedo's design without actually changing the design philosophy of Sharpedo. And what looks like an anchor hanging off of its body is actually its skeletal structure. Can you imagine this thing chasing you down in the Isle of Armor? I also think that people of Unova would want to stop the destruction of this Sharpedo evolution by introducing and deploying fighting type Pokemon. I think Machop, Machoke, and Machamp would be excellent at fighting off this threat, especially because this fighting type defeats the dark type of Sharpedo. Machop and its evolutions would function like lifeguards, protecting the citizens. However, over time, being exposed to the water, they adapt gills on their body and become the water type. They would develop a protective cover for their eyes that look like goggles, and their head crest and tail would elongate to simulate the same effect that a fish's fins would. I literally love these designs so much. I've had them saved for over a year now on my desktop, waiting for an opportunity to incorporate them into a video. This is why Ondu region is so undefeated. Another Pokemon that would be really fun to be introduced into the Unova region is Slowpoke. The iconic, dopey Pokemon Slowpoke undergoes evolution when it is exposed to the toxins of other Pokemon, specifically Shelder. I think it'd be pretty cool, and I've actually made a whole video about this. What if other Pokemon latched onto Slowpoke and caused it to evolve even further? In the Unova region, if you bring a Slowpoke to Chargestone Cave, there's an abundance of the electric parasitic tick Pokemon Joltik. This Pokemon would be attracted by the sweet aroma of a Slowpoke tail and then latch onto its spinal cord. These Pokemon would both undergo evolution, evolving together as a sort of fusion. Great art right here by Professor Cowrie. I worked alongside him to develop this concept and 4 other Pokemon. You can check out that video right here. We're going to move on to our next Pokemon, but I want to let you know that you can help support the creation of original Fakemon designs just like this one by becoming a YouTube channel member or joining my Patreon for just $5. There's a ton more perks there. I'll leave a link in the description. And you can also buy a t-shirt. All right, this next Pokemon is a bit of a meme. It is another food Pokemon, but come on, it's New York City, right? There's so many delicious foods. This is Paplin, the ground and dragon type regional Applin. In French, apple translates to apple of the earth. This design is absolutely fitting, and what's even better is that it evolves 2 different ways depending on how you cook it. It can either evolve into the French fry Pokemon Flapapa. This is still ground and dragon type, or if you give it a baked potato, it'll evolve into the mashed potato Pokemon Papleton. I never really liked Flapple's anatomy to begin with. It doesn't really make sense to me how it could actually fly. It doesn't make sense to me how it could actually hold on to the apples, and I'm kind of getting the same vibe here, but I still think these are really creative designs. I've always liked food Pokemon. Every single fruit, every single vegetable should all be turned into Pokemon. Paplin's Dex entry reads, Paplin absorbs nutrients from the soil so that its potato grows big and resistant to protect itself from predators. Flapapa's body stays warm thanks to the oily acids that comes out of its pores. This is due to the amount of fat it consumes daily and the effort it must make to flap its wings. French fries are deep fried, so they would be covered in oil. That makes a lot of sense. Papleton gives off a hot and delicious scent, which makes it easy prey for predators. That makes a lot of sense. It just kind of lumbers around. The creamy cover that covers its back is very delicious. It is bathed in the fat that it oozes from its skin, thus enhancing its flavor. See, these Pokemon sound delicious. Which one would you pick? The big theme and dichotomy of Pokemon Black and White is truths versus ideal. I think this is very similar to the idealized utopia that we see in Area Zero in the Paradise Protection Program. I think the Unova region is one of the best candidates to receive a continuation of the Area Zero plot, and specifically Paradox Pokemon. This is Great Thunder, the electric and fire type, Paradox Ho-Oh, and Fatal Venom, the poison and dragon type Paradox Lugia. Both of these designs are based on native North American myths, so I think that's really fitting for a Unova remake being located in North America. Paradox Ho-Oh is based on the Great Thunderbird and its battle with the Horned Serpent, represented by Paradox Lugia. Both of the box legendaries for Black and White, their types are represented here, the electric and fire being present in Paradox Ho-Oh, the dragon type being represented in Lugia, and these Paradox Pokemon continue the theming and motif of Gold and Silver, Night and Day, Sky and Abyss. These Paradox Pokemon could be represented as the truth, and the next set of Pokemon are represented as ideals. These next two Pokemon are some of the coolest designs I think I've ever seen. They are by SB Fakemon, and I imagine in the setting of Unova, Getsis and Colress would work together to harness the power of the original Pokemon Mew. This is Godly Genome, a Paradox Mew. The artist gives it the Cosmic and Normal type, which I think would be very fitting. I do think Cosmic type should be introduced at some point. Mew is this adorable, fleshy mammal that is said to be the origin of all life on Earth. Now, in its ideal Paradox form, it is now the origin of all infinity energy, its entire body glowing, seeing all things at once. This is the future Paradox Mew. Mew represents birth and potential, purity almost, and unfortunately Split Sequence is Paradox Mewtwo, representing the corruption of life and the splitting of the very fabric of reality. Split Sequence is given the Cosmic and Poison type, again, to represent that corruption. I don't know. I think I would love to see a design like this represented in a modern Pokemon game. I think we've seen glimpses of this, the textures represented here. I think we've seen a little bit in some of the future Paradox Pokemon, but oozing from this Paradox body are random sequences of corrupt code. This is, of course, a callback to the glitchy Generation 1 Pokemon games, but in universe, this would be an omen. This Pokemon is the epitome of a paradox. It should not exist. It was pulled into our current timeline and possibly even in our own dimension. Bravo, SB Fakemon. All the artists from today are featured in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and Arceus bless.